Well, yeah, and I even got the, where's the Parks Director? Second.
We're at 6:30, so I will call to order the October 21st, 2024 Lake Elmo Parks Commission meeting. I'll rise to say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next order of business is to approve tonight's agenda. Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda tonight.
Thank you. Is there a second? I will second that. All those in favor? Aye. Any nays? There are no nays. We have an agenda. Our next order of business is to approve the minutes from September 16th, 2024. Hopefully you've had a chance to review those. Does anybody have any corrections or questions about those minutes? Clarification? If not, we can take a motion to approve those minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any nays? No nays. Those minutes are passed. Does not look like any public comment. So we'll move to the next item after that, which is the 2025 Parks Works Plan. And I'll turn it over to staff. Hi, Adam.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, Commission. As one of our biggest items throughout the year, we always work on our CIP as well as our work plan. So tonight, as one of the requests from the Commission actually in the past was to possibly bring this work plan a little bit earlier to not only discuss these things, but kind of get another second opinion on them before we just implement them right away in January. So it gives us another month or so, another month just to kind of hash some of those things out as we go through them. So our 2025 goals to ensure that our parks and trail systems are constructed and maintained by public works staff. Number 2 is to provide an expansive system of parks, trails, and open space with recreational amenities that will attract more users to our parks and visitors to our city. It also creates a safe and enjoyable work environment to all of our parks and serve as a reviewing, and as a commission, we serve as a reviewing body to make sure that the open space character development is preserved in new developments. So our work plan is divided up into several sections. So first one is our planning and project development. Over the last few years, we've had the Greenway Trail project on there, and last spring we heard from Connor from Washington County, who discussed that project in probably better length, and kind of where it sits and some items with that. So we keep that on our work plan to not only keep that in the back of our minds, but also work with Connor and Washington County to preserve or to work with that Greenway Trail as it does come through our city and connect our local community as well. I did include a picture of that. That is part of their CIP, with their CIP that is scheduled for 2027. And so that's a feasibility study that they have set forward. So that will begin that kind of that development, that plan of where that thing should actually go. So that's just an eye opener for us to keep entailed with them and keep working with them through that project. Our next in our planning project development is we had some speakers throughout the year. One was at Sunfish Lake. It was just to provide out some options for additional parking there. Like I said, we had a speaker here throughout the year that just discussed the continuation of people being drawn to that park and that parking lot being flooded with a number of cars. So just a couple of photos there again of that, but just we would like to, over the next year, bring some options to the commission to review, to expand that parking lot out and just make maybe a better flow, as well as additional parking in that area for their use. Also, parking, we've also found that Pebble Park is in use of just maybe some adjustments to the parking lot. So we'll bring those options forward to the commission as well. With the improvements to the playground as well as the pickleball, the cars start to go around that corner and becomes a one-way street through there. So we'd like to do some expansion there possibly. So again, we'll bring those options to the Parks Commission for that. Our last one is to Reed Park, parking lot reconstruction expansion. We've put money in the CIP for that. That would actually be expanding the parking lot as a whole, east and west, but also repaving that and updating the sidewalk, the trail that goes from the parking lot all the way down to 30th Street. So staff would be working with our engineering department on that reconstruction project to make that happen. Continue on with our planning and development is our playground replacements scheduled for 2025. That would be Kleist Park as well as Ridge Park. So those playground sets are in our CIP for 2025 to be replaced. Staff will work with contractors to bring those options, several options back for your recommendation to City Council. In addition to the planning throughout the year would be update, and this came right from the Parks Commission, is to update and review our park reservation policy. That was something, again, that was brought forward as something maybe to be creative of ways that we can help fund the Parks Division as well with that. So hope we'll put together a plan and some of your guys' options to present that to City Council for a new reservation policy. Provide a concept plan for Ridge Park. As we reviewed that park last year, we had a lot of interest and just what can happen with that park. Public Works has put aside some funds to actually put together a concept plan. So we'll bring that concept plan to the Parks Division to actually review that, and that would be for future planning of that. So as you know, we have that playground set that's set for next year as well. So we'll hope to bring this forward so that way we can put that playground set that ties with that concept plan so that everything kind of flows together. So even though it all won't be possibly done the same year, we don't put something out in the middle and then have to move it again or things like that. So those two will work hand in hand throughout the year. Last month, we talked about the North Star development, the new park that was created with that acquisition of that land. So again, we'll outline those park options, that single track trail through there. We'll bring that to the commission and again, for your recommendation to the City Council for that. Plan and develop the 2026 Lions Park updates. That would include the playground, the courts, and that parking lot. The reason why we're looking at planning and developing that in 2025 is as we do our playground replacements, we find that when we do bring those in early spring, January, February, March, whatever it might be, by the time we get on that installers list to install, now we're at that October, November, December range. So what we'd like to do is bring that concept forward to the Parks Commission, get some of those things rolling earlier so that those things are approved before the end of the year so that we might be able to get on their list in early March, April, and May. So we can definitely utilize those assets or those amenities that we put in our parks for that construction year. Again, just a reminder with the courts on that, we'd be looking at removal of that asphalt and reusing that for both pickleball and hockey as well. Again. Moving on to our next section was maintenance and refurbishing. Projects in this category are carried out mainly by Public Works staff throughout the year. So those needs assessments, those just inspections, and just overall park maintenance. So the needs assessments, again, staff goes through not only with our certified park inspector. But we go through those and we review our parks, not only, as staff, but also bring those when we review our parks here, when we go around the city. But we review those and look at our assets and our assessments, what do we need there, what can we improve, and where do we need to lie that in? Is it a CIP action, or is it a public works budget option? So our asphalt trail maintenance, we work with our engineers with that, of not only outlining what needs to be done, what needs to be crack filled, what needs to be sealed, and we lay that out over a plan over the next 5 to 6 years as those are integrated and accepted by the city. Our playground and park inspections, again, those are completed by our certified park inspector, who's on staff. That individual writes up kind of monthly reports for us that we include in our daily maintenance throughout the park. Throughout the year, we've been removing infected ash trees throughout the city, mainly in our ditch lines and our city-owned properties. So we'll continue to do that throughout the year, engaging in on most of our parks to remove those infected trees. Our third section is additional park incentives. So as always, in that January, we always try to hold that that joint Parks Commission meeting with City Council. Not only works on our work plan, but also to work on ideas, lay them out there so we know what each side of the table might be looking at, and just to kind of ask those questions that aren't always answered at these meetings, right? Throughout the year, we plan to continue to do tree planting throughout the city. I think last year we planted over 26 trees on city property. That included Lyons, Reed, Ridge, Tablin, DeMontreville Park. So we continue to push that effort of adding more trees to our park system, and for those ones that we are removing throughout the year too. But it's always an incentive of ours to continue to engage in that process of action, I should say, to continue that, to engage shade and beautification in our city, in our parks. Also, as always, we hear from our friends over at Sally Manzaro Center that have been working with the grant program to remove the buckthorn. So we'll continue to monitor that, as well as oversee the efforts of that project, working hand in hand with them. The city's looking at investing in a new program for our city webpage. So with that being said, I know that's been a question from us, of how do we engage more, or how do we get more people attracted to that? So that'll be an effort on staff this year, is to create that new webpage, add some more features in there for people to review and to look at, to more navigate through our park system. That will also include potentially some wayfinding options for us as well. I know that was a need or a request from not only from our commission, but also in our Parks Master Plan, was a way that how can we integrate our community residents throughout our parks, throughout our trail system, from park to park, or just from community to community as well. So we'll include that as well. Our last topic is the finance division. Again, our plan is to update that capital improvement plan that May, June. I'll review those, as well as providing updated budgets on where we sit on our park dedication funds with staff and the commission. So with that, I'll take any questions you might have, or any additions the commission might see we should add to the next year's work plan.
Commissioners, have any questions for Adam on this, or clarifications?
Yeah, thanks for going through this, Adam. I appreciate it. A question for you is, what would be the best bucket for something like research into adding additional staffing, city staff, to fulfill parks?
Yeah, so that would be like we'd have to work with finance, as well as CIP, as well as
Okay.
our city administrator, in creating additional positions for the city.
Okay. So doing the legwork on something like that, I mean, is going to be it's non-zero, right? And so would something under the like finance or additional park initiatives be an appropriate place if, the commissioners discuss and think that's a good idea?
Yeah, I think we'd put that under, probably, finance as far as, because it would be a citywide.
Okay,
Or
great.
it would be financially funded by the city, so.
Okay, thanks.
There's gotta be more questions for Adam. Hank?
Yeah, I got a couple things we've talked about. We had talked about putting in the budget, 5 years and like 5 shelter additions. When was that to start? Do you remember?
Good question. I'd have to look back at our CIP. I think we were looking at 5. Maybe 2026, if I didn't have it in there for 2025.
And that might be the case, but if it is 2025, I think it should be listed.
Okay.
But I couldn't remember where we ended up putting that.
Pavilion or shelter, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
whatever you call it.
Yeah, I'll definitely look at that again. If it is 2025, I'll add that into the Parks Master. Plan.
Right. Another thing that we talked about, and again, I can't remember the timing, was the new signs for the parks.
Correct.
And when does that occur?
We kind of listed, or we put a 20-year fix on our signs, and so that would come up in like 2029.
Okay,
So, 'cause
thank you.
when we did our CIP, so. So you'd probably be looking at that 2028, 2029.
And you're gonna do it all at once, right?
Yeah, we'd be looking at a design option for
Right.
them all to be completed.
Yeah, okay. 2029, got it. And the last one, of course, is an old familiar friend is, so we don't need to put anything about baseball in here.
I would not put anything in baseball at this point.
So the way I interpret that is that the people that needed to make the bigger decisions on baseball haven't done anything or are working on it or whatever.
Correct, we're
Not
there.
conclusive yet.
Correct, correct.
And so therefore, it doesn't make sense for us to put in the sub-tier activities, things that need to be done. to
Until that
support it.
process is complete.
Okay, that's what I needed to know. Those are my questions.
And the last was my question as well, so thank you. Adam, just a kind of a general question as far as with our parks, the parks master plan, how much did you draw from this and, or to include this and, yeah, I guess, is that
Yeah, that's-
something utilized when you're developing this?
Fair question. So I generated basically off the CIP initially, because we already have that set, right? So
Okay,
we do
yeah.
have to generate most of that off there. So as we go forward, because I think our Parks Master Plan was just delivered to us in the last week, so we do have that. But I did look at that, and that's why I do include that wayfinding as far as like including our updates to our webpage, because I know that was big interest from our commission as well. But some of those things I did grab out of there for the purpose of this.
Okay. And a more specific question, I think you used the term single track for the North Star development. Single track to me has to do with biking, but you don't,
Oh.
it's just,
One circle, I mean, type, single track, yeah. correct.
okay,
Yep,
but a multi-use.
Yep,
Gotcha.
correct.
That's what I thought,
Yeah,
but I
same.
wanted to make sure.
yep.
Further questions or, yeah?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah,
So
okay.
is a single track just going to be dirt path or asphalt?
So it'll just be a natural path, so it'll be a dirt path.
Okay. When will, okay, forget that. that's a later question. Okay, can we talk about the priority of park tree planting? Can that be moved up at this time?
What would you like? Or what would your
It says
suggestion?
it's a level 4 priority, and I really feel strongly that we're planting for future generations, and the time to do that was 10 years ago. So I feel like it should be at least a 2. I'm not sure how others feel. And I know cost is a huge concern, and I wonder if every spring the Conservation District always has seedlings for a very inexpensive price, and I wonder if that would be something that we could do, utilize some of those plantings, as a cheaper way, more long-term, but in addition, get something going on park sites.
Yeah, and I think we can talk, too, about some additional options of planting trees. I know we brought forward the donation of the trees, last spring. We planted a few. I know we didn't have a whole lot of other people take options and taking them to other parks and things like that, even though we had a really good wet spring. What we planted throughout the year, staff ended up watering, and we spent, 2 days, trying to, keep up with this, especially the last couple months. So, but, definitely some options we can discuss over the year of additional ways of implementing trees into our parks.
Well, we could, if you have more questions, we can, instead of taking a motion, unless somebody objects to it, we could just have a discussion about some of these things before taking a motion. Or we could take a motion. Like, I think in the past, we've kind of had discussions, which is with our size group is okay to do before we've done a motion. Anybody object to that? Well, let's do that then. Pat, I had a question to you. You had brought up a couple times park signage, and I think Adam referenced wayfinding. Is that specific enough in the work plan for you, or would you like to see something about park signs for city park reference?
Yes.
Putting you on the spot.
Yeah, I guess so, that's all right. Yes, because I had the conversation with some other people about the same park when I was here 2 months ago, about over by Ivywood and Stonegate. Someone they were looking for the park, they did not have a kid playing baseball or anything like that, but they were trying to find Stonegate. And they agreed with me, they could see it on a map and they couldn't determine how to get there. And I thought, oh, like so. So I think that's a high priority to have signage for our parks, especially neighborhood parks that are off the beaten trail a little bit, off the arterial streets. I think that would, and I think that's I don't know. It doesn't seem like it would cost a whole lot compared to some of the other things we're discussing here, so I think it could be a higher option, higher priority rather. It's kind of like the other park, is it Hidden Knoll? Is another one that's, if you don't know the neighborhood, it's hard to find.
Yeah.
Along with the one down here in Little Blue Stem, is it Tana Ridge that's in the middle of nowhere? If you're
Right.
trying to find it, it's really difficult.
Okay. Yeah, other discussion on the items here?
Yeah, I know, from the 30 seconds before we started, what do the other commissioners think about considering adding something to the finance bucket that's like outline parks director staffing following the 2024 Parks Master Plan recommendation with something like a priority 2? I don't want to assume that would, that the recommendation would necessarily be that of the master plan. It seems like some thought should go into trying to figure out how all of these pieces might fit together. But I guess I would like to have that idea be entertained and the master plan utilized in that capacity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's an important time to put it, to put it on there. And after city elections, when we have our joint meeting with the city council, that that issue will come up and we'll get direct feedback about.
Yeah, and I think,
That's
yes,
the way to go.
it was brought up last year as well, I think at our joint commission meeting. And I think it was kind of got the same vibe, right? They were looking for additional information, if it'd be resources or recommendations, right? So they were kind of waiting for that Parks Master Plan, as well as, additional information to say, do we need somebody, or, what is it, what should we have, things like that. So I think that'll be a benefit or a help with, that proposal. So.
Yeah.
Can you clarify what was brought up at the?
So last year at the joint commission meeting with the city council, that exact option was brought up as far as even having like a manager or additional staff on there. And it was reviewed at that joint commission meeting.
And they pretty much punted it to the plan.
Okay.
Said, oh, well, there's.
So now the plan's here.
now
I don't
the
recall
plan's
that.
here.
I don't recall that at all. Huh, okay. Well, yeah, I mean, it certainly is in the plan. I certainly think that, one, we start from a general perspective, start utilizing that plan as much as possible. And it seems like, to me, even though I think it's kind of page 2 on third one down, buried in there, it's not buried, but to me, it is a priority to be able to do some of these things. And I think with the athletic field, even though we're not including that because there's discussions that need to happen if and when that happens, it's definitely going to take some full-time action on that. So I would really like to see something in this work plan where we're making, and staff are making, a recommendation to city council, obviously, then they take it from there. To me, I don't know, it's larger than a finance issue. It's an issue of growth for the city and our ability to plan for the future and just get some of these things done with the proper amount of staffing time. So certainly could just be an additional park initiative. But I guess that doesn't matter a whole lot either, what category it's in.
Are you kind of thinking like the bulk of like recommendations generally?
Well, I think that there's a recommendation on the parks plan to, and I don't have the exact word, Hank, maybe you can get the exact wording there, is to at least, there's something in the recommendations about exploring a division, and then in the initiative, it says something about hiring
Director.
a parks director. It's certainly within our purview to make a recommendation as well of whether that's a good idea. So that's what I would think, yeah, we would make a general recommendation. Staff can make their recommendation as they do their work. But we would make a recommendation to city council, and city council could decide, well, that's, great, but, or that's great, and, So, yeah, I think I could keep it,
Well, yeah, and I appreciate that gives enough latitude to be somewhat nimble as things change and, that meeting in January hopefully comes and goes, that workshop meeting, and things move maybe.
I think it's good to have our recommendation for that position to be created in black and white.
Sure.
I think the more it's seen,
Okay.
the more people are aware of it. And well, that's still on the table.
yeah, well, and, I mean, we could, if it gets on our work plan to make a recommendation, it could be a recommendation that we don't, I guess. But that would be something
Sure.
that we need to put on the work plan to work towards. I guess it's not a foregone conclusion that we would make that recommendation. Um, Yeah. Other items? All right, these, I'm making the assumption that you think these are feasible to complete time-wise, work-wise, I mean, with personnel and so forth?
Yeah, that's how we create those.
Yeah. I don't want to assume that, yeah, just wanted to ask.
Since we have some time, might we, I'll let Adam incorporate these comments, then come back next month for the official approval. Unless you want a motion that has notes and notes and notes and notes.
Either way, it's fine.
I think that's
It's a me-
nice.
Sorry, go ahead.
I feel like that makes sense to me, make it clean if there's some time.
To,
To be able to send Adam back with some recommendations and then next month approve a clean copy to send to city
Gotcha.
council.
okay.
Hank, is that what you were
Yeah, that's
intending that to
what
say?
I was
Okay.
proposing. I wasn't proposing we cut off discussion, but I was just proposing that that might be a,
Have our discussion tonight and then
have
the
our discussion
recommendation
night,
next
get
month.
everything we want to put into it, and then have Adam work on it.
One item that I'm interested to hear your thoughts on, I think we talked about this briefly before, is with Sunfish Lake Park and the new, North Star development, does it make sense to include in a work plan and to, at the same time as we're making trails, approach private landowners about the possibility of connecting those two trails? Does that make sense to do in 2025? And at the same time?
We've had those in our work plan before.
Yeah, and I'm being very specific about the 2 or 3 parcels we'd have to cross and having a conversation with those landowners.
Yeah, I think I don't have it on the list, but in the staff report, I think I do have it listed in there as, we'll continue to focus on potential trail connectivity and make any future suggestions with the potential of the community growth. So I think that's, I'll definitely amend that to make sure that's in there as well.
Okay.
Right.
As a bold item under our planning and stages, but yeah, I think that's always, like Hank said, I think that's always kind of been our go-to throughout the past years, and I think that's, as planning division, working with Public Works, I think that's always our key factors when developments come in, as well as with Public Works, is like, how can we tie these together? So, yeah, definitely.
You don't see a need to get specific with that particular one.
And I don't think that's our only one. I think there are several others
Yeah.
we've been working on in the past that we'd
Yeah.
like to tie to, yeah.
Okay.
But like you said, sometimes it's just, it's the start, right? You gotta start somewhere, so.
Well, I want to utilize the momentum with the building of the park, and having it happen and make sure we don't miss an opportunity. That's the only, I get a little bit concerned if things are general, as far as work plan items are too general, that we forget, oh yeah, there's that spot. We should have approached that individual at that time, but kind of fell behind, as things do. I mean, if they're too general. But if you're comfortable with that, that's fine with me.
in looking over the initiatives, this is really for the commissioners, from the plan. We're addressing many of the high-level ones, but there are some that are not, the disc golf course at Ridge or Reed, okay? Might be able to work in when we look at Reed again or Ridge. But my point for the commissioners is to remember when budgets come up to bring this out. Because I know we don't have any specific money for some of these things, and we need to just keep making sure that if we want them, we put them in the budget too.
Right. Yeah, it's important, the budget, as well as, I think, language in these work plans. I know more generically than just like disc golf, and generically, they list having unique amenities at each park, and I would like to, keep that on our radar, that we're always considering that, because I think that's a good recommendation, having unique spots, and making sure that language translates to our work plan and to our CIP and to our thought processes as we're building.
One other thing that popped out at me is being in the Parks Master Plan, which I see some echoes of that in this work plan. And Adam, maybe you can add some extra information if there's a lot more there that you are intending to say in, these small phrases. But when we think about Lions Park, that was really kind of held up as a potential destination park in the parks system plan. And there is going to be some effort towards Lions Park here with the courts and things like that. And I just wonder if there's an opportunity to develop a plan for that park, as was recommended, that would turn it into that more destination type thing. And maybe there's something else to be done there. I guess that's not a fully fleshed out idea, but what do you all think, I guess? Or Adam, what do you think?
No, that's all part of my plan and development of bringing those ideas, bringing those things here in 2025, so that we have a map, we have a layout of what we're gonna be proposing to our contractors for our playground set, or what initiatives could they bring in their design to include in those open areas in that, in that area, so with removal of that. So yeah, it's all part of that. Yeah, I probably don't lay that all out in my short phrase there, but yeah, that's all part of the planning process, so, yeah.
Okay.
Which reminds me, where are we at with the old village plan?
Maybe planning can help?
So city council had opted not to pursue an update to the 2007 village master plan, but we did do a review of the current regulating documents.
Okay, so there's no new plan.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion or clarifications? So, yeah, process-wise, we could muddle up a motion, or we can just table this, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like I would recommend, can't we make a motion to table this for next meeting? And maybe we can provide a quick summary, though, for all of us and for Adam, so that we are all on the same page here with what we're gonna maybe see next month.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
we can. And with that, we're not necessarily, I mean, we've put forth some ideas. And it doesn't necessarily mean we're all in agreement. If we're not making a motion, we're not necessarily all in agreement.
Yes.
But they end up on the works plan, and then we vote, we table it, and we vote for it on November, and we can discuss items that are on there, or items that we're adding, whether they need to be removed or not. But yeah, we can certainly do that.
And until it's approved, you can always add or subtract
Yeah.
things regardless of what he does.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to be clear that we said you know, we wanted to make a recommendation on a Parks Director. Maybe 4 of us don't feel that that's necessary, but that we're putting it on there doesn't mean we approve it.
Right. Until we
I'm
approve.
being a little pedantic here.
No, until we approve it, it's not approved.
So, yeah, Adam, I think I saw you taking notes. Do you need a summary of what we?
If you wanna throw together a summary for those that are listening, I'd be okay with that, but.
Well,
otherwise we're good.
can I try a stab at this and then we can go
Yeah.
from here? So what I'm hearing is the following additions or changes. So to the maintenance and refurbishing section, I'm hearing adding some outlining park shelter or pavilion options, maybe with a priority of 2. Outlining options for new park signage and wayfinding, again, with maybe a priority of 2. To finance, I'm hearing outline a Parks Director staffing following the 2024 Parks Master Plan recommendation. Priority 2. 2 additional park initiatives, develop recommendations following the 2024 Master Plan to City Council. Also heard to reprioritize park tree planting to 2, and to explore trail connectivity opportunities with new North Star Development Park to Sunfish Lake Park.
That was awesome. I think that
Captures it all.
covered it all.
Right, okay.
Nice
Right.
work. Yeah.
So then, can I make a motion to table this for discussion to table the discussion to next month?
Yeah, we can.
There's specific language there.
Can make, the motion would be to table the item, the agenda item, for November.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I I would like to make a motion to table the agenda item to the November meeting.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
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 Any nays? No nays? Excellent. Communications.
Yes, thank you. Currently, right now, we have our 2 playground sets that are going, I should say the one currently right now at Lions Park. That's, we've got a couple of finishing options to go on that. They suspect that'd be done in the next week to week and a half to be fully completed. So, and then following that, our one at DeMontreville will begin likely that first week in November. So, those are up and going. Just a heads up, our first, we will need 1 Parks representative, likely the chair, or whoever we vote into that chair position, in January to attend the goal-setting meeting that's ran by the city council. So they've elected to bring forth some of our committees, our members to that to be part of that. So they're looking for a one-night or one-day activity with them. So just be prepared for whoever that might be, or whoever we select for that position, or select. To be invited to that in January. So be right around that same time we do that joint commission meeting with them as well. So as we're coming up here at the end, normally at the end of October, we start removing our nets, pickleball, tennis nets, or volleyball nets, things like that. So staff will take that kind of based off weather for most parts. A lot of times when it's icy and getting cold, they start to sag and we start stretching those out. So we'd like to remove those prior to that. But just a heads up on that, as well as the porta potties will be removed about the same time throughout our parks. With that being said, snow is coming, so we'll prepare for that ice rink opening and prep that area for the winter season for at Lions Park. I asked that the commissioners, as we go through our park system, another park to review before our next meeting would be Homestead Park off of Lake Elmo Ave. So we're looking to review that one. Kind of different in nature from the ones that we have done in the past, but just to bring some other options and to make people aware of what is in our park system again. So that's it.
Commissioners, you have some communications?
Just a question, with the Homestead Park review, would it be possible, I mean, I know you're thinking about this, but would it make sense to have someone come in and talk to us about the elementary school development that's planned for immediately adjacent to that site?
Do you have something planned next month on that?
The elementary school is going to city council first week of November. So we'll have a decision ideally
Okay.
made by then.
There might be something.
Okay.
I don't know that the final design layout is, I don't know how,
Okay.
how far along that is in
But it
terms of
went
place.
through planning commission last week, right?
Correct.
Okay. Social media was commenting on the pickleball courts at Pebble Park. And they said they were gonna get a hold of you about these intermediate nets. Is there any update on those nets?
I haven't been contacted by anybody about intermediate nets or in-between nets. I was down there this morning fixing the lights. The light switch there was broken. Did fix that this morning as well as the one at Lions. And they were just asked, one person just commented, you here to put in the nets, the divider nets? But otherwise, I have not heard anything other than
Okay.
that, so.
I haven't seen anything else. This is about 2 weeks ago. There was a big discussion and, oh, we'll get a hold of Public Works and this, that, and the other, but I hadn't heard anything. The other thing is I would agree with you that that parking lot, when you get people parking around that corner, it gets really tight in there. So yes, I agree that that's something that needs to be looked at.
Further communications? Do you have any communications? No?
I do not.
I do.
Go ahead.
I ran into two people who live along Stillwater Way, right in front of Sunfish. Is that Stillwater Way? And complaining about cars coming out, in and out of the park. They said bikers, because they saw bikes on the back of the vehicles going too fast. There's a couple families with young kids who use that street for biking and walking, and they were concerned about the high speed of the cars coming and going, and asked if they could do some speed bumps or something, and I said, talk to Public Works, or talk to the city council, or someone like that, but two people on two separate days mentioned that to me, so I wanted to bring that up. The other thing is that my husband and I were walking last night in Sunfish, and we came upon the bench, the park bench that the Four Sisters dedicated. You know, the parks crew did a great job placing it there, and then they've cut some of the trees down in front so you can see the lake, and it was beautiful last night, if anybody wants to see a picture of it. The sun filtering through the leaves before they fell off, it was just a beautiful spot, so it's a great spot for the bench, and they really did a nice job of putting it where they did.
Great.
One last thing, we are looking for one more commissioner as well on our Parks Commission, so if anybody listening is interested, they can contact our deputy clerk for more information on that.
Okay. Okay, if that's all for communications, we can move to the last item, which is adjournment. Does somebody want to make a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn the meeting.
Is there a second?
Second?
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? No nays? Meeting is adjourned.